situated learning, which is an educational model in which learning is placed in a meaningful context. So first I'll explain a bit more about what exactly that is. Then I want to demonstrate to you some benefits that situated learning can give to students in their learning situations. And finally, I'll conclude with some suggestions I have based on my research. What should school learning look like? What is the role of situated learning in that situation? So first of all, situated learning basically is that it places learning in a meaningful context. And that can be as simple as going out on a field trip, seeing where the applications of learning actually occur. It can mean having professionals come in and talk about how they use the subjects that are being explored in the classroom environment. As long as students can see the applications of their learning and really feel where it fits in society, where is it situated, where is learning situated. So that's situated learning. So in my presentation, I would like to demonstrate to you, oh, you can't see the top. I would like to demonstrate to you, first of all, that situated learning provides meaningful context to students, and that meaningful context allows the students to better engage in the material. Secondly, I will argue that this meaningful context not only attaches students to the material, but to the community in which they learn. Finally, I will conclude with this new image of what school learning should look like and the role of situated learning. So first I'm going to start with a problem, and that's classrooms. My main problem with classrooms is that they are, by nature, abstract. They're removed from society. So we're learning about things separated from where that learning can be applied. We can look at preschoolers who don't usually have a problem with being engaged in the material. They want to learn things. Give them a few years in the classroom, by the time they get to second grade, you do start to see engagement in many students and an increased sense of apathy. So what does that say about the classroom? Classrooms are abstract, as I said. So students can learn how to do classroom tasks, like taking tests well, doing their homework, answering specific sorts of questions, but they don't necessarily understand how to go out and apply that knowledge. One example is in classroom learning vocabulary. Students look up the definitions in the dictionary, then write off the sentences, but they don't know the context of the vocabulary, so they'll often have a misconstrued idea of what the words actually mean. And they would learn the words more effectively if they were just in conversation, where they can understand the context. Similarly, math word problems can be abstract in the classroom setting because you have these sentences that are very specific to math word problems only. Things like, I had 3 apples, I dropped 2, how many do I have left? Students can answer these classroom tasks, but they can't go out and approach things mathematically in the real world. Alright, so learning in a classroom sometimes takes us out of context. But is that really a bad thing? Well, let's compare this traditional classroom learning with situated learning. And that can often mean going outside of the classroom, being in the place where the learning actually happens in the real world. And if you think about it, that's how we learn a lot of things. That's how we learn how to talk. That's how we learn how to work in a job. These things we don't learn by someone sitting us in a room and saying, okay, this is how you move your mouth to make words. We learn by being around it. We learn how to do a job by being around it. But you can also teach more complicated cognitive processes in a situated learning experience. There was a research project done in Queensland, Australia. There was an environmental program which had a situated learning component. Students went out into the outdoors. They saw the ecosystem processes happening as they were learning about them. There was also a classroom learning component where the teachers just gave the information to the students. Based on surveys and interviews, students were happier when they were in the situated learning experience, when they were outside actually participating with the environment. They were happier then, and 3 months later, they remembered what they learned in the situated learning situation better. So that speaks well for situated learning increasing engagement. I'll give you another example. At a school in South Carolina, there was an entire unit for elementary students based on sweetgrass, which is a local wetland species. Students went to their wetlands to learn about the role that grass has there, and they went to talk to community members who were basket weavers. and who use the grass on a day-to-day basis. So they were connecting with their local context. Teachers noticed an increased student engagement. Students were more attentive to the speakers. They were raising their hands more often than they had in previous science units. And they even said that the students paid more attention in the following science lessons. So this engagement kind of spilled over once they were connecting into their community. A second example occurred in a university in Alaska. There was a very unpopular chemistry course. And then the designers of the course said, okay, why don't we make this more meaningful? So they planned the entire course around local environmental issues and indigenous people perspectives. And then the ratings for the class shot way up. Students described it as refreshing and engaging, and it became one of the more popular classes of the school. So again, bringing in this context, showing where the material is situated, engaged students. At our very own Jasper Ridge, Cindy Wilbur, who's the director of this biological reserve at Stanford, takes students up to the ridge and teaches them about biodiversity and ecosystem processes, and she always teaches outside. And she takes kids from low socioeconomics, where the schools are very poor, and often the kids have trouble in the classrooms, and they lack engagement, and they're very apathetic toward learning. As she takes them through the program, she says they just light up, and they become very engaged in the work. They complete the work that they're told to complete. They ask interesting questions, and you can tell that they really care about it. All right, so now I've given you some evidence that learning in these situated places gives students a connection to the material. Now we're going to move over into connecting students to the community. We can start with Cindy's class. The students go back to their schools, and oftentimes they come up with projects to increase biodiversity in their own schools. They go and they teach what they've learned at the Ridge to other students who are younger than they are. So they're giving back to their community, and they're able to see themselves as situated in their community. We can go back to the sweetgrass example. Once the kids had gone through the process learning about the sweetgrass and their wetlands, kids were able to make a connection to their daily lives and their impact on the community. One kid said, "We wash our car on the grass at home. I didn't know we were killing the grass." So this unit allowed that student to be able to see how their daily interactions affected their community based around this academic material. Same thing with the school in Alaska. The students, once they understood the meaning, they were able to connect their material to their local community and feel like they were part of it. In a research study conducted on college seniors across the United States, over 70% of college seniors reported learning altruism and social competence in learning situations outside the classroom. And that makes sense, that we would learn how to be good members of society when we're actually learning in the society. All right, so now I've argued that situated learning can also increase student connection to community. So finally, what should situated learning look like? It can be simple. It can mean bringing in professionals from the outside into the classroom. It can mean letting students do relevant experiments so that they can understand the real-world applications of their schoolwork. There's one really nice example. In a second grade classroom, students built a grocery store in the classroom. They brought in all sorts of food. The food was priced at very realistic prices. There was a cash register. Students were estimating how much they would be able to spend each week, and they had to calculate sales tax. It was a very realistic situation brought into the classroom. So that's a good way to budget if you can't go out. If you can go out, you should. If you're learning about percentages or estimating, go to a grocery store and buy things. If you are learning about banking, you just be in a bank. Allow students to make the connections, make those associations with their environments. Cindy will not teach inside a classroom. When she teaches her courses at Jasper Ridge, she gets kids outside as soon as possible because she says she wants those associations that the kids make to the learning to be connected to the actual environment she's teaching about. So go places, just learn where the learning matters. And so then gradually maybe we can change the way a classroom looks like and make it more situated in our real world. Thank you.
Thank you.